Hello, and welcome to Archive Dive. I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Each month, we dip into files on historic events, people, and places in Superior and Douglas County with local historians. Did you know that 12 presidents have visited Superior? Can you name them? Most folks in our area know that Superior Central High School served as the summer White House for Calvin Coolidge in 1928. He wasn't the first president to visit Superior, and certainly not the last. Today, we'll count up all the commanders-in-chief who have stopped by our port town. Helping us dive into the story today is local historian Teddy Meronek. Hello, Teddy.
Hi, Maria.
Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, I'm glad to be back.
Oh my goodness, so 12 presidents?
12 presidents.
Was it more Democratic, Republican, evenly split?
Evenly split.
6 and 6.
Yep.
All right. Shall we go in chronological order?
That's probably the easiest in my memory.
Okay, wonderful. So when did the first president visit Superior?
Well, this is an interesting question because the first president documented in the newspaper here was Ulysses S. Grant. But there's a story circulating if you read histories of the Brule River. Mm-hmm. I saw it mentioned in not only in a book, but also online that apparently Grant was here in 1870 to fish the Brule. Now, to me, that seems a tad early, but, the thing that they attached to that date was one of the sources said that by that time, he had retired from the Army and had finished his presidential term. But he wasn't elected president until 1868, and he served until 1877. Okay. So he wasn't finished being president until late in the 1870s. So I've never been able to find a source that has said Ulysses S. Grant was here in this area in 1870. But he did come in 1883, which is kind of early because Superior wasn't really a city yet. It wasn't incorporated till 1889.
Oh, wow.
So when he came, we were still kind of a rough town, and he had just been out west. Of course, he was retired from the presidency by then, and the Civil War was 20 years back. But he had been at the ceremony where they had finished the Transcontinental Railroad, and they had a big to-do out west for that. And he had been there, and he came back to Superior with Frederick Billings and his wife.
Okay, Billings Drive.
And the Billings family donated the property for Billings Park. So he and Grant were traveling together. They had both been involved with the Northern Pacific Railroad, so they were the ones that were holding the ceremony out west. So he came first to Duluth, of course, and then he got on a boat. And he came over the water and went to Connors Point and toured that a little bit. And then he got back on the boat and came to Superior. And if people know where the East End McDonald's is, that was the site of the Quebec Pier, which was where all the boats at that time came into Superior. They came to the Quebec Pier. So he got off there, and General John Henry Hammond, who was also a Civil War veteran, and who Hammond Avenue is named after in this town, was there to greet him and was going to give him a tour of the city. That was kind of here, but not really. When we think of Superior, we always think of downtown Superior as being the city.
Right.
But that was still under construction. In 1883, there was hardly anything there.
So Connors Point was kind of on its own over there.
Yeah, and then they came to East End, which had been developed in the 1850s, so it was well ahead of what was going on downtown, and that's where he got off the boat, and Hammond took him around town, and he said it was a splendid town.
Splendid town.
Admired the harbor. And after the tour, he got back on the boat and went back to Duluth. Oh. And I think the Telegram, or was it the Tribune or the Telegram, referred to him as he was rather stout at the time and had a ruddy complexion, but he looked like the picture of health, but he was dead in 2 years.
Oh, no.
He had throat cancer. And he spent those years writing his autobiography because finances had always been a problem for Grant throughout his entire life, and he wanted to leave something that his family would have an income from. And his autobiography, along with, surprisingly, Calvin Coolidge's autobiography, are considered the two best biographies written by presidents.
Would you call them the superior biographies?
They were superior biographies. Grant's a fascinating person, and if you want to read a good book about him, since I'm a retired librarian, I always have to recommend books. Ron Chernow's biography of Ulysses S. Grant is excellent.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. So he was here in 1883.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take before another president said, hey, I should stop at Superior?
Yeah, well, we really didn't know he was presidential material even because he was only 10 years old. But FDR has the next, he's the next one because he came here in 1892 with his parents.
How old was he at the time?
He was 10 years old. And his father, James Roosevelt, owned a lot of real estate in Superior. So that's why they came here. He was involved in a lot of things in the steel plant that never really succeeded out in Billings Park.
Okay.
But he was the president at one time of that. He sat on the board of the Land and River Improvement Company.
Oh.
He built the Roosevelt Terrace, which is still standing on 21st Street. So he had a lot of things to look at and supervise when he came here. So he came here in April of 1892 with Mrs. Roosevelt and young Master Franklin. And the story goes that they took a tour of the Whaleback shipyard, Alexander McDougall's shipyard, and that Franklin fell into the water and a local man rescued him. Never been able to verify that. Never,
So that's
ever.
just a rumor.
It's a story that has lived on. When Franklin Roosevelt died, there was a picture on the front page of the newspaper of the widow of the man who had supposedly saved his life. And she was just looking at the newspaper. At first I thought, well, did she have a scrapbook or something of it? But no, she was just looking at the newspaper and she spoke about this. But
when they came here, did they stay at the Roosevelt Terrace?
No.
Oh.
They stayed at the Hotel Superior.
Okay.
But they came in their own private railroad car too.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I think maybe this gentleman who supposedly rescued him, maybe he got a little too close to the water or something and maybe pulled him back. The Roosevelts came back in 1897 for sure. Franklin's father and mother. There's no mention of him being with them. By that time, he had gone away to school. He was at Groton, like high school age. And I thought, well, he probably wouldn't have fallen in the water in 1897. He was almost 16 years old. And we always think of Franklin Roosevelt in a wheelchair, but he was 6 feet 2 inches tall. So I'm sure by the time he was 16, he was a big guy and he was probably capable of taking care of himself if he fell in the water. So kind of have to think that it's the 1892 visit. But he never came back, though. No. I don't know why. And, and he never mentioned that. There's no reference in any books, anything written about Roosevelt, except he did say that his father lost his shirt in Superior by all of his investments, So other than that, he never mentioned the incident. So I know Roosevelt liked to talk about himself. So, yeah.
You think he would have mentioned it?
You think you would have, yeah.
So we'll never know if it
we'll never know.
One of those mysteries.
Yep.
All right. So who came after Franklin Roosevelt?
After Franklin Roosevelt was William McKinley.
Okay.
Yeah, he was here in, 1897? Was that it?
1899?
99, okay. So he came and he spoke at the old City Hall in the North End, and there was supposedly a crowd of 15,000 people. I'm not too sure about that. That seems like an awful lot of people to gather.
How many people were living in Superior at the time?
Oh, it was getting pretty big by then, but 15,000 just seems a lot. I don't know. Okay. And there was a choir of 7,000 school children directed by a woman who worked at in normal school, UWS now.
7,000 children?
Yeah, they were singing America. I don't know if that seems like a lot of people to me.
It does.
There actually are some photos, though, that were taken.
It look like quite
it looked like a big crowd. And so it was a very quick in and out, like 15 minutes or something, the speech was or something.
It was just a campaign speech?
Yeah, he was running for president again. But then he would be assassinated. McKinley was assassinated just very shortly into his second term. He had one of the accomplishments of his time as president was that the Spanish-American War had taken place and the United States had been successful in that. So when he ran for president the second time, he switched vice presidents and decided instead to choose someone who was a hero of the Spanish-American War, who was Theodore Roosevelt. And he was the next president to visit here.
Okay, so back-to-back presidents.
Yeah.
McKinley,
Yeah.
followed by Theodore Roosevelt,
Yeah.
also known as Teddy.
Yes, known as Teddy, yes. And he came here in 1912.
Okay.
He was-
What brought Teddy Roosevelt
He
here?
was campaigning on the Progressive Party ticket because he had not earned the nomination for the Republican Party to run that year. He had been president for almost 8 years. He had finished off McKinley's first term, won an election for his own second term, and he had vowed very early on that those were the only years he was going to serve as president.
Okay.
He later regretted that statement. And when the election took place, of course, Taft won when Roosevelt left office. But when Taft was going to run again, Roosevelt challenged him, but did not get the nomination for the Republican Party. So he ran on the Progressive Party ticket, which is also referred to as the Bull Moose.
Oh, the Bull Moose, right.
Because Roosevelt had once said about himself, he was so healthy after, people questioned his health after being away from the presidency for 4 years. He said he was as strong as a bull moose. So that's why they called it the Bull Moose Party.
Okay.
And there were apparently a lot of people in Superior who were supporting the Progressive Party, including John T. Murphy, the owner of the Telegram at that time. And they convinced him, he was on a campaign tour through Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, convinced him to stop here. And he made a speech at the Grand Opera House.
Okay. To how many people?
A lot of people, like probably illegal, according to the fire code, how many people were there. And they even closed the schools while he was here, and some businesses closed down while Roosevelt.
Oh, wow.
He was a very popular man. Very popular, yeah.
But he just came and gave the speech.
Yep.
Did he stay and tour, or did he
No,
just head back out?
then he headed back out. He had stopped on the way into Superior. He had stopped at Iron River and given a speech.
Really?
Yeah, and
my.
he went through Lake Nebagamon, and then
No speech there.
No, just waved to the crowd. And then the train came through East End near Dewey School. The school kids went down there, and he, greeted them on the way to his speech. So
Wonderful.
yeah, but he didn't win.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
yeah,
But once again, a president in
yeah,
Superior.
right.
Can't beat that. Okay, and then we come to the most famous president in Superior. Maybe. The one we know most about.
Well, the thing is about this, though, is that Herbert Hoover came here to Superior before Calvin Coolidge did.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my.
And he was here for a reason that many, many presidents even came to this area, was the Brule River.
He came to fish.
Well, he was president of the American
Institute of Metallurgical Engineers.
And he was the director of that. And he was visiting someone in Duluth who knew someone out on the Brule that had a place. And we think of Calvin Coolidge as the fisherman.
Yes.
No, it was really Herbert Hoover had been a lifelong fisherman.
Okay.
And really the best. And so that time when he was here, that's what he did. He went through Superior and went to the Brule. And then Coolidge came, of course, in 28.
Did Hoover tell Coolidge, "Ooh, you should come. This is great"?
No, I don't think they had that kind of relationship.
So Hoover came. He wasn't president yet.
But he was through in 1920, yeah. And then he would become, he served in Coolidge's cabinet as Secretary of Commerce and came here when Coolidge came in 1928. Okay. And set up his summer White House. Really on the Brule, not really.
Right.
Yeah.
But they did have office hours at the school in downtown Superior, right?
And so he came here to seek Coolidge's endorsement as the nominee. Oh. He wanted that. And he was here for a couple days then.
Okay.
And of course did go fishing on the Brule.
Of course.
And probably a better fisherman than Calvin. It's interesting about Calvin Coolidge because that's what we think of him up here. Oh, he was...
fisherman.
Yes. But he had come late to that sport, I believe. The summer before, he had his summer White House in South Dakota. And they apparently stocked the river where he was fishing with a lot of really hungry fish. So he had very successful every time he went out fishing. And that's where he sort of got the
fishing bug or whatever.
Could be, yeah. But, if you were a true fisherman on the Brule, a trout fisherman, you didn't fish with worms. You were a fly fisherman. And apparently Hoover was an expert. But what I liked about his South Dakota summer residence was that they presented him with a full cowboy outfit, Coolidge, and it was chaps and spurs and I don't know, some sort of shirt, but a 10-gallon hat that he took many pictures in that hat and apparently wore the outfit quite a bit.
Okay.
So when I was on the board at the Douglas County Historical Society, we did like a vaudeville show, but we also contracted with Jim Cook, who did an impersonation of Coolidge. And so Kathy Loxo, who was the director of the Historical Society at that time, and I had to go up to the Duluth airport and pick up Mr. Cook. Neither one of us knew what he looked like. So as he's getting off the plane, he's wearing the cowboy hat.
There you go. Easy to pick him out of a crowd.
Then, we had no trouble with that. Did an excellent Calvin Coolidge presentation.
Wonderful.
Very, very good. But yeah, I like that. I like the idea of Coolidge wearing that hat. He also, during the summer he was in South Dakota, announced that he wasn't going to run for president again because he could have. And the way he did this is he called all the reporters that were following him in South Dakota. He called them, and told them that he was going to do this. And when they came to the room, he made them line up in a straight line, and he handed out pieces of paper to each one of them that said on it, "I will not be running for president in 1928." And that was it.
That was the press conference?
He wouldn't take any questions.
Oh. Very to the point.
Yeah. And so, that's how they found out. But that was Coolidge.
Okay. Did any of the other presidents do this summer White House thing?
No.
It was Coolidge.
Just Coolidge, yeah.
Okay. But Superior was chosen as one of them.
Well, the days before air conditioning, you could always count on it to be cooler here than certainly Washington, D.C. So, and then after Coolidge, Eisenhower showed up.
Oh, when did
Eisenhower was the next one. Yeah, he showed up.
1947?
47, and he was again on his way to the Brule.
Oh, my word. I mean, the Brule River, don't get me wrong, is like legendary, and obviously, but so he came to Superior, but the point of it was to get to the Brule.
Right. And he just got off the train at the depot, and a car picked him up, and they drove out to the Brule. And he was there for a couple of days. But the most interesting story, and I have not been able to prove this, but I read it online and in a book, is that when he was president, he was elected president in 52. So it said that often he would get on the presidential plane. It wasn't Air Force One yet, that they hadn't called it that. Have the crew fly him to the Brule. There's a landing strip out there. Land there, get off the plane, fish for a couple days, and then go back to D.C. And apparently the plane went to the Strategic Air Command base that was in Duluth at that time because we were afraid the Russians were going to come and get us. Yeah. And they would take it there, do maintenance or whatever they needed to do, refuel it, and then they'd come back and pick him up. Now, what I don't understand is why did this never make the telegram?
Right.
Somebody had to see a plane like that flying over the Brule. Look at Dick Bong. So. I mean, Dick Bong looked at Coolidge's mail plane. That's how he got the idea that he wanted to fly. Right. So you can't tell me that all those people out near the Brule were sleeping or something.
No, but they can keep a secret.
I know. Yeah, they could. But doesn't it seem odd that someone would do that when they're president of the United States?
Like you would think that
you'd be busy.
Word would have gotten out. Yes, you would have thought.
I thought, yeah, definitely word.
So we're not sure on that. But if someone has information on
definitely.
that,
I think it's very fascinating that you could do that and be incognito.
Incognito, as it were. But he didn't come to Superior during those visits. Those alleged visits.
Right.
All right.
And even though he was president after Truman, he came here before Truman. He wasn't really president. I just counted him. If you sat in the Oval Office, I figured you deserved to be among the president.
Right. So some of these people came to Superior before they were president or after they were president, but all of them have been commander-in-chief.
Yep.
Okay.
But Truman was president when he came here in 48.
48.
Yeah, he was here in 48 because he was campaigning across the country by train for a chance to be president for 4 more years. And he came to Superior, and there's a picture in the telegram. He got off the train in Superior, then went over to Duluth, but he's in the car with John Blotnick and Hubert Humphrey.
Oh.
It's a great
wow.
picture. So he came here, stopped, gave a speech from the back of the train, and then he went over to Duluth and then came back here, got on the train and continued his campaigning across the country.
Does that count as 2 times here?
Could
'Cause
be.
he was
Yeah,
here,
it
then he
could
went to
be. Yeah.
Duluth, and then he came back. So no,
I never
just
thought of it
once.
that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So then after that, an unlikely, I really think probably one of the most unlikely people that I think would ever come to Superior would be Richard Nixon,
Yep. And he not only came once,
twice. Yeah.
twice. So what brought Richard Nixon to Superior?
He's trying to win that, the office of president for Eisenhower the first time because he was on Eisenhower's ticket. And he just really stopped at the depot that time and gave a speech, as many of them did, from the back of the train because that's how they were traveling at that
The
time.
whistle stop tour.
Yep. Yeah. And he had quite a crowd. I think they said 3,000 people. It didn't compete with, of course, McKinley's crowd, but, people were probably working that day.
Right.
And then he came back again in 1968 when he was trying to win the Wisconsin primary to become the Republican nominee for president.
Mhm.
And he came here and he gave a speech at Pilgrim Lutheran Church.
At a church.
Yes.
At the
yes,
same Pilgrim Lutheran that stands there
Yes. Yes.
now. Wow.
He was held up, so he was late. I don't think he got lunch, but maybe they put, like something together for him afterwards. But he came and it was a sold out event. You had to have a ticket to get in there, 500 people
Mhm.
out there. And then he gave a speech in about 50 minutes and then he left after that. Mrs.
Okay.
Nixon was with him
Oh.
and he won the Wisconsin primary, Republican primary, 80% of the vote.
Well, that
Yeah.
probably helped that he came here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Andy Borg was instrumental in getting him here. I don't know
Andy
if people
Borg.
remember Andy Borg Sr., but he at one time was the national head of the Veterans of Foreign War, the VFW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And then we jump to another 2-time visitor,
Yes. John Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
Yeah. Here in 59, before he was sort of dipping his toes in the water to find out, if this was going to be possible, this run for the president. And when he came back in 1960, of course, there was the primary that he had to contend with. And it was a hard-fought Democratic primary in Wisconsin because we already had a favorite son who was Herbert Humphrey.
Oh.
But Kennedy won in the end. He did. And on the second trip, there's a picture in the telegram of John Kennedy talking to Dick Bong's father.
Oh.
And Kennedy was a World War II veteran too. So, and he gave a speech at the college. And I think Herbert Humphrey had been here or was coming here, but Kennedy drew a bigger crowd. So that might have been a forbearing of what's going to happen in the primary because he did win.
Right. And he came, and the first time he came, he spoke at the Central
Central High School. Yeah.
in the auditorium there. And he had Jackie with him.
He did.
Because I remember there was a Telegram article about how she hung out at the Android with all of the other women around
Right,
here, and then
right.
in between speeches and things.
I like to think of Jackie at the Android.
Right.
That must have been a hard life. Go to small town, really, and always have to be sort of on,
Right.
very upbeat and all that.
No chance to just relax.
Yeah, coming to Superior in March, I don't know.
It didn't say what the weather was like, did it?
No, but for Nixon, I think it was really terrible.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, one of the typical spring days. Yeah.
Oh, no. And then are we going to jump to more recently? We've had, as we're taping this, the outgoing president and the incoming president were both in Superior.
Right. But, Joe Biden actually was here before Donald Trump because Biden came as vice president.
In 2012.
He was here. And he's number one on the list because he's been here 3 times.
Okay, so he's been here more
than any
other
except
president.
Calvin Coolidge.
Oh,
because he came to town.
Right, so-
Maybe he didn't even come to town 3 times. No, he did. No, he did.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
he spent most of his time out at the Brule. Although
Yes.
I did read that when Hoover was here in 28, that he and Calvin Coolidge went to Central and had adjoining offices there for whatever time Hoover was here, a couple of days, and they did some work there. That's the only reference I've really seen. I'm sure. I know he came in town because there's all those pictures of Coolidge with people, but they actually did use offices at Central.
All right, but yes, so Biden came as vice president in 12, and then 4 years later, Donald Trump came on the campaign trail, And then in 22 and 24,
Four.
Biden came back
He was back
as president.
So he's our number one president then, that's visited here more often
Visited here more than any other president.
Right, yeah.
All right. The gauntlet's been thrown down.
Yes.
All right, so 12 presidents and counting.
Right. You never know. I don't know now if we're as important as we once were, but
I think we're still pretty important. Thank you, Teddy.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening to Archive Dive. New episodes are available monthly at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a topic you'd like us to explore, email me at mlockwood@superiortelegram.com.